What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today's video will be all about how to invest like Warren Buffett. We will discuss some of his most famous quotes, and we will also look into Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio. But before we get into the interesting part of this video, I would just like to ask if you could smash that like and subscribe button, as it would help this channel out greatly. With that being said, let's dive right into the video. Warren Buffett was born in Omaha on August 30th, 1930. He is the current chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. As at December 2019, Buffett was worth $88.9 billion, which ranked him the fourth richest person in the world. He is a value investor and has been nicknamed the Oracle of Omaha. Just like many other investors, the current situation on hand has brought many problems to Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio, which has fell 54.5 billion. This is mainly due to the fact that Buffett sold off his entire stake in his airline industry investments. The four airline companies that Buffett sold completely out of his portfolio were American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, and United Airlines. In my opinion, the best way to invest like Warren Buffett is to firstly follow his advice and secondly track his portfolio. So in relation to Warren Buffett's advice, here's a list of my favorite 13 quotes that Buffett has said over the years. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Price is what you pay and value is what you get. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. The fourth piece of advice is never invest in a business you cannot understand. Fifth, it is far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. Only buy something that you'd be happy to hold if the market shut down for 10 years. The seventh piece of advice is that the stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. Time is the friend of a wonderful company, but the enemy of a mediocre company. The business schools reward difficult, complex behavior more than simple behavior, but in truth, simple behavior is more effective. The 10th piece of advice is that there seems to be a perverse human characteristic that likes to make easy things difficult. Diversification is a protection against ignorance. It makes little sense if you know what you are doing. 12th piece of advice is it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about it that way, you will do things differently. And finally, probably my favorite of the 13 quotes is that the most important investment you can make is in yourself. As there's over 40 companies in Buffett's portfolio, I think it's best if we just name the company, its current holdings, and the current value of each company. At least that way, this video won't be 5 or 6 hours long. However, if there's any of these 43 companies that you would like me to review in more detail, please drop a comment below. The first company on the list is Amazon, and Buffett holds 537,300 shares, equating to $1.3 billion. Berkshire Hathaway have a massive $76.2 billion invested in Apple, which equates to 250.9 million shares, 151.6 million shares in American Express, which translates to $13.2 billion in value, 24.3 million shares in Axalta, which equates to 460 million in value, 947.8 million shares in Bank of America, which certainly trumps my 23 shares, which is a total value of $21.7 billion. 88.13 million shares in Bank of New York Mellon, which is a value of 3.9 billion, 648,447 shares in Biogen, which equates to $205 million, 5.4 million shares in Chartered Communications, which equates to $2.8 billion. Another one of my shares, Coca-Cola, he has 400 million shares in this company, which equates to $18.4 billion. Next up is CostCo Wholesale, which he has a holding of 4.3 million shares, which equates to $1.3 billion in value. Buffett holds 38.1 million shares in DaVita, which has a total value of $3.1 billion. GM is next on the list, and Buffett has 75 million shares in this company, totaling $1.8 billion in value. Buffett holds 6.3 million shares in Global Life, which has a value of $484 million. One of Buffett's financial sector companies, Goldman Sachs, he has 12.4 million shares in this company, equating to a massive $2.3 billion in value. Another one of my holdings, Johnson & Johnson, Buffett holds 327,100 shares, which equates to $48.7 million. Another company I recently acquired shares in, JP Morgan Chase, Buffett holds 60.1 million shares, which equates to $5.6 billion. Kraft Heinz is next on the list, and Buffett holds 325.6 million shares, equating to $9.6 billion. $628 million of Buffett's investment goes into the company Kroger, which equates to 18.9 million shares. Berkshire Hathaway holds 19.8 million shares of LBTYA and 7.3 million shares in LBTYK, equating to $586 million. In terms of Liberty Latin America, Buffett holds 2.7 million shares of LILA and 1.6 million shares of LIAK, equating to $39.4 million. In terms of Liberty Group, Buffett has two different holdings in this company, 31.1 million shares and 14.9 million shares, equating to $1.5 billion. Another financial sector company on Buffett's portfolio is MasterCard. He holds 4.9 million shares, equating to $1.4 billion in value. Moody's is next up. He has 24.7 million shares in this company, equating to $6.4 billion. Buffett has a $29.2 million investment in Mondelez International, equating to 578,000 shares. M&T Bank is next up. Buffett holds 5.4 million shares in this company, equating to 560 million. Into the petroleum sector now. Buffett holds 36.2 million shares in Occidental Petroleum Corporation, equating to $526 million. A company that I would be looking to buy into in the coming weeks is Procter Gamble, and Buffett holds 315,400 shares, equating to $36.5 million. The banking sector seems to be one of Buffett's favorite strongholds, with another holding of 9.8 million shares in PNC Bank, equating to $1 billion. Berkshire Hathaway are $17.2 million invested in Phillips with a holding of 227,436 shares. Next up is Restaurant Brands International, which Buffett has 8.4 million shares in, equating to $432 million. Next up is a company I admittedly don't know a whole lot about, which is RH. Buffett holds 1.7 million shares in this company, equating to $268 million. SiriusXM is next on the list, and Buffett holds 136.3 million shares, equating to $775 million. 10th last company on the list is Stone. Buffett holds 14.2 million shares, equating to $396 million. $256 million of Buffett's money is involved with Suncor, which equates to 15 million shares holdings. In terms of Synchrony Financial, Buffett holds 20.8 million shares, equating to $383 million. Next up is Teva, and Buffett holds 43.2 million shares in this company. Another company that I don't know a whole lot about is Travelers, and Buffett holds 312,379 shares, equating to $30 million. The fifth last company on the list is UPS, and Buffett holds 59.4 thousand shares in this company, equating to $5.6 million. Buffett has a hefty $5.2 billion invested in USBancorp, which equates to 150.1 million shares. Another well-known brand is Visa, and Buffett holds 10.6 million shares, equating to $2 billion in value. The third company on the list that I don't know a whole lot about is Verisign, and this is 13 million shares of Buffett's holdings, which equates to $2.8 billion. And finally, Buffett's 43rd company in his portfolio is Wells Fargo. He has 345.7 million shares in his company, which equates to a massive $8.8 billion. So with all that being said, I would love to know your views, firstly on Buffett's quotes that I mentioned, and secondly on his 43 share portfolio. In my opinion, I feel that his quote about diversification is a protection against ignorance. I feel that he's a bit hypocritical here, as he has 43 companies in his portfolio. So again, as I said at the start of this video, please comment, like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.